That's okay. So I've posted videos from all of our classes on the Doc B Piano YouTube channel. I know you're all about the Doc B Theory YouTube channel like everybody else, but there's a Doc B Piano channel with even less viewers, less subscribers, and I've posted all of our class periods there. So in those videos, you will find, yesterday we went over group 3 scales and arpeggios. That video is already up, I do believe. We've gone over harmonization substitutions. We've gone over 2 tens chord progression. We have gone over the pieces for the semester, but you're going to do a sonatina, so that's fine. We've gone over group 1 and 2 scales and arpeggios. We went over all the arpeggio fingering for this semester. So that is all up and viewable. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All right.
When I was working on that homework, the minors, harmonic minors,
Yeah.
it brought up a question for me.
Okay.
For example, they show an A sharp minor.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why you would have an A sharp minor when we don't have an A sharp.
You were right. Composers could write it inharmonically, so they just want to cover their bases that if it did show up. Would you like to go over that?
Well, no, I know how to do it.
Yeah.
It just ends up with a G double sharp.
Right.
But since it's enharmonic with a B flat, and also since there is no A sharp, why would we do it? I mean, A sharp minor, because to me, the minors come from the majors. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Right, but we do have a C sharp major, do we not?
We have a C sharp major, so we could have a C sharp minor, yes. But we don't have an A sharp, and we don't have an E sharp, and we don't have a D sharp.
But we could, and what the point I'm trying to make is the relative major for A sharp minor is C sharp minor. So we could, or C sharp major, excuse me. The relative major for A sharp minor is C sharp major.
Yeah, but you don't. Why would you need a relative major? What you need is a relative minor, because you wanna know what to play the minor in. So,
right, but if we started a piece in C sharp major and we transitioned to minor without changing the key signature, we would be in A sharp minor. True?
if we were in C sharp
major,
and we wanted to play C sharp minor,
no, we wanted to transition from C sharp major to the relative minor.
Why would we do that?
Because maybe we broke up with our girlfriend and we were sad, and all of a sudden our piece went from major to minor.
Well, if it goes from C sharp to C sharp minor,
we wouldn't go to C sharp minor.
Pardon?
We wouldn't go to C sharp minor. We would go to A sharp minor because it's the relative minor, and we wouldn't have to change our key signature that way.
So
using the same keys that we used for C sharp major, we could put it in minor and we could be in A sharp minor and not have to change our key signature. Otherwise, we would have to go from 7 sharps of C sharp major.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused. Why do we go to the relative minor?
To
not have to change the key signature, and we'll still be using all the white keys.
Change the sound of the piece from happy to sad.
That's it.
Okay, so you're saying we actually go from a major to a relative minor. We don't go from a major to a minor. So when you say like we're in C and you want to play C minor, you're not going to play C minor. You're going to play the relative minor to C.
Well, yes, you could do either. But if we went from C major to A minor, we would not have to change our key signature.
No.
But if we went from C major to C minor, we most definitely would have to change our key signature.
From C major to C minor. Yeah, you change your C key signature to an E.
E flat
E
major.
flat, right.
Or C minor, which would be 3 flats, right?
Right.
But if we wanted to go from C major to A minor, we wouldn't have to do anything with our key signature. We would just make the shift to minor.
So I understand that the main point that it's changing sound without changing key signature.
True. Yes.
So sometimes you go to the relative minor.
Right. And
Okay.
sometimes you just sit there for a second and then you go back. Can I show you a piece that does it?
Ask him, quick question. Would that make A flat minor be the relative to C flat major?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
When we were in group piano 1, we had a piece that I'm not going to be able to find that went from major to minor and back to major. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see if that's it. Give me 1 second. I have it listed in my syllabus.
Well, that's okay. Now I understand what you're saying is that we do go from we would use the A sharp minor
Yeah, we could.
because we'd go to the relative minor. Okay. But then
I'm just going to show it to you in action. If I can find it real quick. So I also want you to understand, Edison, that both of these have certain terms, and I think you've got the term relative down. The other term that you're discussing is the term parallel. So
right, parallel minor, the natural minor.
Well, not the natural minor, but C major and C minor are parallel.
They're parallel.
Yeah. So they share the same key note, the same starting note. Does that make sense?
Right.
Something happened.
Okay, well, I just didn't understand that you would use the relative minors. I didn't.
You could, yeah.
Okay, my only purpose for using the relative minors was to get the key signature, but that's not the case. You're saying you use the relative minors because you use them.
Yeah, but you could do either. You could go to the relative or you could go to the parallel. But if you go to the parallel, that's going to cause a key signature change or a bunch of accidentals. Where if you just go to the relative, you don't have to change the key signature necessarily. You only have to make concession for the raised leading tone if you go to harmonic or melodic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. All right. I like I said, I was only using that relationship to identify the key signature for the minor. Because if you say you want to do A minor, then you can easily use the key signature of C flat. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
But so that's the only way I used it. But what you're saying is there's another purpose. You actually use the relative minor. You play the relative minor.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, then of course you need to have the minors for everything. But
Yeah.
now they didn't print out the E sharp minor and the B sharp minor. Is that because they didn't have enough room?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Okay, so that's anyway, that answers the question now. So basically they just didn't put everything in there they could have.
Right. So on my screen right now, I have a song called Etude by Ferdinand Bayer. You might remember this from Piano 1. And in this piece, it starts in A minor. But when we hit measure 9, the sun comes out. It goes happy, and we go to C major.
Okay, starting in A minor.
We do.
Can you play it again, please?
Yeah. C major. D C Alfine back to A minor.
Well, is there a difference between A minor and C?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you know to play this in A minor then?
Well, what I like to do is I like to look at the key signature.
Because I this was the piece that I played.
Yeah.
I can play it very well now,
Yeah.
but I play it in C.
You think of it in C. Yeah.
I play it in C.
Sure. You also play it in A minor.
So they're the same.
If you look at the key signature, there's 0 sharps and 0 flats.
Right.
If you look at your starting note, it's an A. If you look at your starting note, it's an A. If you look at the ending note of the phrase, it's an A, and it's an A. Now, starting in measure 9, if you look at the first note of the phrase, it's a C, and it's a C.
But how does that impact the playing?
It doesn't. It
doesn't
impacts
impact-
it impacts your understanding of what you're doing, though. And
Well,
it might impact what keys you stress or bring out later. You know, if you think about, oh, that's a poignant pitch, or that's a tone that has tension, I might want to stress it so that the next note can be a little bit less and resolve it. So it will affect, once your theory knowledge catches up, it can definitely affect how you play. Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't play it wrong then. I just
No.
I just
You-
didn't know what I was doing.
Right. they snuck a fast one on us, and they. So we start in A minor, we go to C major, and then we go back to A minor. And you can kind of feel it, Edison. You can kind of feel how sad and gloomy it starts. And then the feeling totally changes in measure 9 when the sun comes out and we go to major. And then the gloom returns.
Yeah, but I didn't figure it out from like A being happier and C being more sad. To me, it was I just jumped. I jumped up a couple of notes.
It was a hand position change.
Higher, then I was in a higher pitch. So
yeah.
So I played. I played the same tune, like it was the same. It was like a transposition, I guess you could say, or something like that. But because I was playing the same pattern, but at a higher pitch.
It's not wrong.
Pitch.
Give me 1 second.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that is better.
Yes.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. Where this kind of stuff shows up is in the movies. So if you're watching a movie and you're hearing this, it's going to be some girl skipping down the sidewalk with flowers in her hand. She's happy. And then the storm clouds come out. And, you know, in my ear training class, I also talk about the diminished triad, which hopefully you remember from our page 98 chord progression. And I tell my ear training students that's when the girl is tied to the railroad tracks and we're not sure if our hero's gonna make it on his horse before the train. Totally filled with suspense. And you know, the Greeks talked about this, right? The way that certain scales sound and certain keys sound cause emotion. And that's totally what's happening here. We just didn't pay attention or didn't know to look for it, and now we do.
Okay.
This was a fascinating discussion on relative major and minor, and how if you do stay with relative, you don't have to change your key. Now, if I'm going to play this different. I'm going to play this from A minor to A major, which is a parallel shift, parallel major. So I'm going to start in A minor like it's written. And then I'm going to go to A major like it's not written. And then I'm going to go back to A minor. And you can see what you think.
Yeah, that's completely different.
It's completely different. You don't have to move. You just move your third finger from C to C sharp. That's the only thing that changes. Then a different feeling as well. So I'm glad we had this conversation. It was fun. I think we all learned something too. Other questions? Comments?
Yes. Are there any other pieces in the book that do this, like where you play in relative scale?
There's one other, but I think, but I can't find it. There's another one that's similar. exact same thing in the exact same keys. Let me see if I have it here.
So really the enharmonic, anything that you play enharmonically is just for some future idea. You maybe have different, not patterns, but like you said, different pressure points or something. Like if you had an A sharp and a B flat, if you wrote it in A sharp and you transpose it to B flat, it would just be the same song.
It all has to do with context. The way I like to talk about enharmonics is I have different names for the different places I go. At school, I'm Dr. B. At church, I'm Brother B. At home, I'm Hey Stupid Head or Hey Sexy. Depends on the day. So, depending on where you are is what you're going to be called. So, if I'm in A minor, I'm going to be called G sharp. If I'm in if I'm in C double flat or whatever, I'm going to be A flat. So depending upon the key is going to determine what you use, right? If I'm in F major, I'm going to use flats. That song, Alex, that you were asking about is page 342. It's called Allegretto. And it's by Ferdinand Bayer, the same guy, isn't it? It's the same composer, same opus number, or same opus collection, different piece. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You are welcome. All right. I have, for some reason, 2 different versions of this book, and both of them are wrong. And for some reason, I don't have I'm missing 342 in my book. And that is no good. So I can't even show you the piece. So sorry about that.
It's okay.
All right. You can look at it in your book, though, yeah?
Yes.
I think the pages just got mixed up somehow. Anyway. Okay. So we were talking about major and minor. Were there any other questions on that before we go on? Questions on page 107 or 185? Doing all right?
Yeah, that was good. A lot of clarification. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. Somewhere in my book, my numbering gets off, and I don't know where it happens. Okay, no questions on 107 or 185? That's coming up due this Is it this weekend? Ah, I found my problem. So whoever gave me this PDF mixed all the pages up. So now I can show you, Alex, that song. Let me share my screen with you all. Okay, so here's Allegretto by same composer, Ferdinand Bayer, and he does the exact same thing. He starts in A minor in measure 1, and in measure 9 he goes to C major. Now, I'm glad that I found this, Edison, because this piece is more complex than the first one, and it gives us a couple more clues.
A lot more complex.
Yeah, but it gives us a couple more clues that I want you to recognize. And the clue is in measure 23. Do you see the clue?
The clue.
Yeah.
I guess it has a G, starts in G sharp.
Major G.
All of a sudden we have a G sharp and an F sharp. And G sharp and F sharp don't belong in C major. F sharp and G sharp only belong in A melodic minor.
I see that. So it goes melodic and.
And yeah.
Oh wow! I can just little mind blown right now.
So the first piece and the first A section in this piece don't ever include a G, a scale degree 7 or 6. It's all 5-finger pattern. So we only have scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the first half.
You said there's 2 sharps in.
There are. There's F sharp.
I thought A melodic minor had only 1 sharp and F sharp.
Well, melodic minor is a little bit different, and we haven't really gone over that in piano. But
I mean harmonic minor. Oh, you just said. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
When
okay.
you said melodic minor, I was thinking harmonic minor.
Sure,
now I
sure.
understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
because a melodic, you just said this was a melodic minor.
yeah, we have an F sharp and a G sharp, so they've raised scale degree 6 and 7, which is our clue. Oh, we're in melodic minor at the very end.
Okay.
Yep. So back to your original question, back in the other song, the Etude, the question was, how do you know if I'm in minor or in major? And I told you, well, we have to look at our starting notes and our ending notes. The other clue that they gave us at the end is to look for scale degree 7 and or 6. If scale degree 7 is raised, that tells us, oh, we are in harmonic minor. If scale degree 6 and 7 is raised, that tells us, oh, we're in melodic minor. So that's the answer to your question. How do I know? Well, that's another evidence for you to consider on how do I make the determination if I'm in major or minor. Look for the scale degree 7. Is it raised or not? And then you might consider looking at scale degree 6. If it's raised, that would tell you you're in melodic minor, like we are here.
With it being a melodic minor, would you still be able to use the C major as its relative?
Yes. Yes, you just have to make the accidental because F sharp and G sharp do not show up in the key signature. So you're having to apply 2 accidentals rather than just the one for harmonic minor, neither of which are in C major. Yep, good question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really,
Okay,
'cause
when you
that was one thing that kind of like had me like a little stumped right there
Yeah, a little
regarding
fuzzy.
harmonic and harmonic and melodic, if they can still be, if the C major can still be used.
Yeah.
But so just add the accidentals and then
Right.
all right, cool.
So let's take the accidentals out. I'm going to play starting here. And I'm going to take the accidentals out and I'm going to put it in natural minor. Sounds like I played the wrong notes. Now I'm going to play the last 2 measures in harmonic minor and make it an F natural. Sounds a little Aladdin-y. So you can kind of hear what the different sounds would be if I was in natural versus harmonic versus melodic.
so when you say raising, you're talking about raising from the minor.
Raising from the natural minor to
Right.
become
Right, raising from the natural, because I'm always looking at those minors like the harmonic minor. I'm looking at that as just lowering, and I mean the natural minor lowering all 3, and then the harmonic minor just lowering 3 and 6.
You're a parallel kid. When you get to theory, I talk about all 3 forms of minor scales, and there are 2 main types of kids. There are parallel kids and relative kids, and you are a parallel kid. You like to find the minor from your parallel major and lower your 3, 6, and 7. And the relative kids like to use the key signature. It's just a different way of thinking about minor and coming up with the same answer. But yeah, I have a little handout, and it's 3 forms of minor scales and how to find them, how to construct them. So way number 1, well, really there's 4 ways of doing it that I talk about. The relative, the parallel, and then some people memorize the formulas. That's another way. Just memorize what's the formula for minor for natural minor, what's the formula for harmonic minor, and what's the formula for melodic minor. And then the only other type of person I've come across was an international student that would use solfege, which is pretty much doing the same thing as the formula, but using do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, or whatever the solfege is for minor. Those are the 4 ways that I've seen people in theory come up with their minor scales. And I think you're a parallel person because you'd like to lower 3, 6, and 7, which is perfect. And so I have a handout that shows the three ways: the formula, the way the parallel kids do it, and the way the relative kids do it. And it all gets the right answer. It's just one way is more comfortable for each kind of person. So now that you say, oh, I like to lower the 3, the 6, and the 7, that tells me that's how your mind goes about it, and which is great. When I get to theory 1, I ask students which kind of kid they are, and some kids don't know. Well, you're a parallel. You're a parallel kid, as we like to call them. Alex, what are you?
Relative.
Christian, what are you?
Probably a parallel.
Jesus, what are you?
I think I'm relative.
Yeah. So it's a fun conversation we have in theory when everyone has to decide, how do I find the minor? Some people do it with formula, some people do it from the parallel, and some people do it from the relative.
Well, when you say you're relative, that means you
That
start
means
with,
so if I said to you, Edison, find me D minor, how would you find D minor?
like, went to find D minor.
Find me a D minor scale, how would you do it?
Well, there's a couple of ways, but one way that made it fast for me is I just took the D, which was two sharps,
Mm-hmm.
and converted it to the F, which was one flat, because I took out three flat. I added three flats.
Yeah.
So I guess the D minor would be an F.
So this is how people usually do it. If I say find me a D minor scale, some people will say, all right, I'm going to take a D major scale and I'm going to lower scale degree 3, 6, and 7. And those are the parallel kids. And then some people, if I said find me a D minor scale, they're going to take the F major scale and put 2 notes on the front of it because it shares the same key signature. And those are my relative kids.
What do you mean put 2 notes in the front of it?
Well, let me show you on my screen. 1 second.
It's using like formula plus 3 flats.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
1 flat.
Let me share my Classroom Maestro screen. So here we are. Here's my F major scale. Oops. Come on. That's my F major scale. But if I put 2 notes on the front of it, it becomes D natural minor.
Oh, I see what you mean by putting 2 notes in front of it.
Mm-hmm. We're using the same key signature, which is 1 flat. But if we start on D rather than F, it becomes D natural minor.
Okay. So maybe I sort of did that because I just took F and I just said, okay, it's a B flat. So B flat, that's D minor.
That would make you a relative kid, not a parallel kid. Now, some other kids do it like this. They say, all right, you want D minor. I'm going to write D major. And then I'm going to take my scale degree number 3 and scale degree 7, and I'm going to lower them and make them natural in this case. So if they did that, that's how they get their natural minor. Now, if they wanted to do that from major again and get harmonic minor, all they would do is they would lower scale degree 3 and they would lower scale degree 6 and they would leave scale degree 7 alone. To get harmonic minor. And those are my parallel kids because they do it from the parallel major, meaning both keys share the same starting note, D major, D minor. So that's another way of doing it. And then the third way of doing it is to be a formula kid. And the formula kids say first note, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole and a half step, half step. So that's a third way of coming up with the answer of what's my D harmonic minor scale. Does that make sense?
I think I switch off between formula and relative
Yeah.
a lot.
You could
I
do
think I
that.
do formula as well now.
Yeah. Yeah. So some kids are formula, some kids are parallel, some are relative, and some are a hybrid. Absolutely. So 3 ways to get the exact same answer.
Which
Cool.
is faster?
Say again?
Which is faster, or everybody different and
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. So that was fun. That was a fun conversation today. All right. Let me write this down. I am looking at my book, and it got crazy on me. Well, I'll figure that out. Okay, today is Tuesday. What is happening Thursday?
There's another way that you could go, I think.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so if you got D and you want to do a D minor, if you went, using a circle of fifths, D goes to G, and one more would be F. So D minor would be an F.
Yep.
If you go down a sixth,
That's another way to find your relative major, yes.
so that does it too, doesn't it? I thought it did it, but I didn't try it on every single one of them.
That will help you find your key signature. Yes, you're right. But then you still have to come up with where are my flats and sharps.
But yeah, but I just know those,
Yeah.
right?
Well, you know that you have to make sure that you raise your 7 and you flat your 6, you lower your 6 for harmonic.
Oh yeah, that's if you're going to go.
Right.
I was just talking about getting to the minor, but if you want to go harmonic minor and melodic minor, then you have to do some additional calculation.
Right. So it's just a matter of how do you want to do your calculations and how are you going to do it the easiest? You know what I mean?
That's why I was having problems doing that homework, because it just got confusing. So finally I just sat down and did the formula.
Yeah.
Can't make a mistake with that.
And if it's, that's why I teach it. That's why I teach it, because it's foolproof.
And especially because on the homework, it actually gave you the keyboard, right?
Right.
So it's easy to count.
Absolutely. So that's why I teach it the way I do. And if it would be beneficial for me to add the student manual to the files section of Canvas, I'm happy to do that. Would that help?
Student manual?
Yeah, so I have I use a student manual for Theory 1 and for Ear Training 1.
it will be help.
Say that again?
What's
Luda?
student manual?
Do
When
you
you
have
make
it?
up?
Yeah, me and another professor contributed it to it. Do you have it, Luda, or no?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I'll put it in the file section of Canvas, and then there's a specific page 45 of the manual will have this minor handout, this minor scale handout. Would that be beneficial to people? I know that
Yes.
I know that Christian and Alex and Jesus already have it. I don't know if Ben has it or not, but I'll put it up, and that way everyone can get it and have access to it. Alex might have lost his or something. Okay, so that was a fun conversation. It was an important conversation. You need to be able to find your relative majors and minors. We discussed why you would want to have one versus the other. And, for instance, if you didn't want to change key signature and so forth. So I will post that manual. And Thursday, don't forget, we're having a quiz on our piece that we're learning for our midterm exam. So keep working on those, and I'll hear each of you individually in the breakout rooms on Thursday. Okay. I will see you all tomorrow.
A quick question.
Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity regarding piano, what is are there any exercises or videos I can look up to help me pick up speed?
Speed with what?
Like playing the notes like a little bit faster.
I would use
And
your
like
metronome. Start using a metronome.
Metronome.
Cook your
There's always
frog.
that.
Do you know how to cook a frog?
But I can use metronome though.
Do you know how to cook a frog?
No.
If you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, he'll jump out and run away. If you put a frog in a pot of cool water and every few minutes turn up the heat, you'll have a cooked frog and then you can eat him. So it's the same with your scales. If you try to go to 220 beats per minute and play your scales, your frog's going to run away. But if you start at 60 and then the next day 62, 63, 66, 69, 72, 76, 80, 84, 88, you'll eventually get there and have a cooked frog. So I tell students, cook your frog. Start slow and slowly increase the heat every few minutes or every few days. And then you'll build your speed that way.
Okay, for sure. It's kind of like the same method that I have for guitar. So okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. I'll do that.
All right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All righty. See y'all tomorrow.
Take
See you.
care, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, best.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye-bye.